Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 325. I was white here, kicked off with d4. We get d5. I play the Queen's Gambit, and my opponent declines it with c6, the Slav defense. So I continue with the main line, knight f3, and my opponent plays the somewhat unusual move, d takes c4. Now this is a line that's similar to the Queen's Gambit accepted, except that two moves have been inserted, the knight here and the pawn here. And the best way for white to play here is e3, which if I'd been thinking about the Queen's Gambit accepted, I would have remembered that, because e3 and knight f3 are the typical responses in the Queen's Gambit accepted. The move I played, which is e4, is a little bit riskier. It leaves this pawn exposed somewhat on the e4 square. So, well, let's see. Before I go on, I wanted to mention I'm leaving the chess engine turned off because there's a couple of tactical opportunities, tactical quiz opportunities in this game. So I wanted to leave the engine off so I could pop the quizzes and you'd have to think about it. Okay, so let's get back to the game. Just to follow up with the Queen's Gambit accepted. So after e3, black can try and hold on to the pawn with b5, and then you play the move a4. And that's the way play would continue. You have to go after these pawns right away. You don't want to. You want to make black pay a price and create some weaknesses over here on the queen side that you can attack later, or just get the pawn back, one or the other. So e3 is the move to play there. I played e4, and if black follows up with b5, it gets a decent game. So he followed up with bishop to g4, and after this I can grab the pawn with no consequence. Here, let's skip. We're out of the opening book. Let's skip back to this page. In this position, white has a pretty significant edge. Black has no pawn advantage, and he's given up the center. This pawn is secured by the queen. The knight can't counterattack it because the c6 pawn is blocking his natural development. So white's in good shape, and I keep an edge here through the next few moves just by doing normal development. And both sides playing decent moves here, developing their pieces, and getting them to good logical squares. And I go bishop g5 to put some pressure on the knight, bishop e7 blocking the pin, and now queen e2. This move is a mistake, and so here's your first tactical quiz opportunity. It's black's turn to move, and there's kind of an equalizing move. Up till this point I had the advantage, but black can equalize with his next move. Okay, well, I'm going to pause for a few seconds so you can... I'm going to be quiet for a few seconds so you can pause the video. Okay, now I'm going to give the answer away. What the move that black can play here is knight to b6. So this was not played in the game, but it's a bit of a double attack. I mean, the bishop is defended, so it's not exactly a double attack, but that's a good piece. You don't want to give it up. So the engine recommends just retreating the bishop, and then play would continue like this, and grabbing the pawn. And even though black is a pawn up, white has compensation in terms of activity. So it's not like black suddenly got the advantage, but this is a position that's more or less equal, whereas before white had an advantage. The other way to play would be to try and defend the pawn, something like this. But this doesn't look so great after knight takes, bishop takes. The material is equal, but now white's position is a bit messed up. He still has strong center influence, but his king is weakened. And once again, the engine rates this as about even. So queen e2, this move, queen e2 is a definite mistake. But my opponent castles here, and so I keep the advantage with this move. And it stays like this for a while. I get to complete my plan, which is to bring my rook to the d file. It's nice to have it on this half-open file. I may be pushing this d pawn at some point, opening up some lines, and maybe get some tactics against the queen. He goes with b5, kicking my bishop. Drop back. And queen c7. And now I play rook a c1, setting up tactics along this line. And in fact, the move knight to knight to b5, knight takes b5 is immediately threatened. But my opponent spotted this tactic and played the move queen b6. So, but right here, actually, white has a really strong move that I completely missed during the game. So this is your second tactical quiz opportunity. I'm going to be quiet for a few seconds so you can pause the video. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. White has a very strong move in e5. And normally, this kind of tactic, you notice the bishop is undefended here. So if the knight just goes anywhere, then bishop takes. Bishop just wins a piece. So normally, black escapes this kind of tactic by playing knight to d5. It's a good centralizing square for the knight, and it defends the bishop. So it's usually not a problem. But in this case, white can just take that knight because of the position of the queen on b6. It all has to do with the queen on b6 here. Makes this tactic possible. So now this knight exchange is happening with tempo, and after black grabs the knight, he's got to take it. Then the bishop is loose. So this just wins a piece. So if we back up after e5, the best way for black to play is to counterattack with b4, attacking my knight. And now we get a few exchanges. I take here, and if he takes back with the pawn, I just get another piece by grabbing his bishop, and I stay a piece up. So he takes this way, hitting my bishop, and I move my bishop and attack his rook. And so now he has nothing better than to grab the knight. I grab the rook. He takes back, and I grab the pawn. And so if we pause to count, basically I've won the exchange. I have 2 rooks and 2 pieces. He has 1 rook and 3 minor pieces. And also his king is a bit exposed. So this is a good position for white, even though black still has some pressure. White is up material and attacking chances against the king. Although nothing immediate, because all his pieces are gathered around here and he has time to reorganize them and get a defense going. So it's not like game over, but it's definitely a winning material advantage for white here. So pretty interesting tactics there, starting with e5, taking advantage of this pin, and then also taking advantage of the fact that knight d5 doesn't work to defend here, and he's got to counterattack. Okay, complicated sequence there, but pretty interesting. So my opponent just played, oh no, it's my turn here. I didn't spot that tactic at all. I played h3, kicking his bishop. And now we get some exchanges. He takes, I take back. And in fact, this is losing a pawn for me because, is this where it happens? Hey, let's play on a few moves. I take back, he kicks my bishop. I retreat. No, it's somewhere later. He goes queen b7. Cancel that. Queen b7. He still doesn't want to get in line with this knight and allow this tactic of knight takes b5. And so I push on with d5 here, opening up the center. This is my idea with the 2 rooks here. He takes. Cancel that. He took with the c-pawn. And then he throws in the move b4. So this is a good tactical move by my opponent. I was planning to just exchange out and open up the center, but he throws a monkey wrench in by attacking my knight here. And I play knight to e4, and actually he's winning a pawn here. Now what's interesting is that even though he's a pawn up, the chess engine thinks that white still has a slight edge. So this pawn was not worth all it could be, I guess. So we get this exchange, and bishop to f4. I guess it's a weak pawn, and it's going to be hard for black to support it. But I was definitely worried at this point. He gets rook a to d8 in. Defending, I go bishop to e5. Going after the knight. I was thinking of taking the knight and winning the pawn, although I realized that if I exchange here, he gets his bishop to this diagonal and hits my pawn on b2. So I wasn't fully thinking this through, but this is a good active square for the bishop. He goes queen to b5, and I go rook c7, cancel that. Cancel that. Yeah, so at this point I was giving up on the idea of just winning the pawn outright and just going for piece activity, which it still keeps an edge for white, just a slight edge. So we're in the range where it's very nearly equal. Rook d7, I exchanged here. And, oh, that's right, he didn't take. I was expecting him to take with the knight, but he took back with the queen. And now I can get my pawn back. So I took with the bishop. And after a few more exchanges, he went queen to e6. And yes, this is a position which is about even once again. So I've gotten my pawn back. I have some activity, but also my king is a bit exposed here. I have to be careful. I went to b3 because I was still worried about the loose pawn on b2. Didn't know if his bishop was going to manage to get to the f6 square and put pressure on it there. So it frees up my pieces to move a bit. He goes rook to c8. I drop back here with bishop to f4, guarding the entry point for the rook. He plays rook to c3, attacking my queen, and I drop back to d1. And he gets his pieces all to active squares, so he's doing pretty good here. I go rook b5, going after the pawns. Now he goes g5, hitting my bishop, and I drop back here to e3. Queen e7. And I played queen d5, centralizing my queen and trying to get something going against his back rank, perhaps. He went rook c1 check here. So this is, I mentioned, there's some amusing blunders here. I can just take the rook. I don't know. Maybe he was getting low on time at this point and not seeing things. So this is a pretty well played game up to this point, but really I should just take the rook. Okay, and I didn't even notice that I could take it. And then he played bishop e5 check. And I did notice this one because, well, if I don't take the bishop, I'm getting checkmated. But, of course, taking is perfectly legal. He resigned after I took the bishop because the bishop was not sufficiently defended there. So kind of a funny end to that. But up until this point, up until he played rook c1 check here, the game was still in doubt. But that's how it ended, with a pair of blunders right here, and he resigned. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.